Hi, this is Donna Taggert, the dietitian for Department of Aging and Human Services. So February is National Heart Month. It's to bring awareness of heart disease in our country and to encourage us to focus on our cardiovascular health. And rightly so. Heart disease is still the #1 killer in the United States with 630,000 deaths annually from heart disease. Now, chronic conditions impact our heart: diabetes, high blood lipids, hypertension, atherosclerosis, congestive heart failure. Now, some of these are genetic, but many can be managed by a healthy lifestyle of diet, exercise, stress management, and sleep. Now, I'm going to focus on the diet today, but if you visit www.heart.org, you can look and learn more about these lifestyle changes you can make to help with, say, perhaps stopping smoking, getting more physically active. Do you know that only about 24% of Americans are meeting the requirement for physical activity? If you get poor sleep, less than 7 hours a night, that's important to address. So this website will give you a lot of good information in addition to stuff about the diet. So what is a heart healthy diet? A variety of high fiber, plant-based foods, lean protein, low-fat dairy, monounsaturated fats, and omega-3 fatty acids. We'll try to focus on the positive approach where we're focusing on the healthy foods that will help bring health to our heart and kind of go low on the negative things. But I want to talk about a few nutrients that are really beneficial for our heart. One is calcium. It helps lower our blood pressure. Of course, we know calcium is in dairy products, but it can be in other plant-based products as well. Folate is a B vitamin. It helps decrease levels of homocysteine. Now, that's a weird byproduct from protein metabolism. When we eat protein and digest it, it produces homocysteine. And when those levels are high, it's linked to heart disease. So folate can actually bring those levels down. Folate is in dark greens, in nuts, seeds, dried peas and lentils, fortified grains. Another good nutrient for our heart is magnesium. It's a mineral. It helps dilate our veins so the blood goes through easier, so the pressure is less. It helps absorb with calcium and potassium, and it helps regulate the sodium in our blood. Magnesium is on whole grains, nuts, seeds, soybeans, green leafy vegetables. Starting to hear a pattern there? Potassium is another important nutrient that has a strong link to lowering blood pressure. It helps with our fluid balance, it helps with muscle contraction, and helps balance our sodium in our diet. Potassium is in bananas, kiwis, citrus, green beans, nuts, seeds, potatoes, tomatoes, and dairy. Monounsaturated fats, they help lower your total cholesterol. They help lower that bad cholesterol, that LDL cholesterol. They're found in nuts, in avocados, olives, peanuts. And then there's the omega-3s. These help decrease inflammation. Big marker for heart disease is increased inflammation. Omega-3s are found in our fatty fishes, but also in flaxseed and walnuts. So a lot of these foods that I talk about have fiber in them. Fiber is so important to lower cholesterol, to help with our bowels, decrease the risk of diabetes, obesity, certain cancers. Again, fiber, where is it found? Fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, legumes. A mixture, a balance of different fibers from different foods is important, but they have found that the fiber coming from whole grains seems to have the biggest impact on our heart. Now, there are foods we need to limit or try to avoid. Foods high in sodium, saturated fats, trans fats. Now, a good thing about trans fats is they have been really addressed in our processing of foods and has been really lowered. There's very few trans fats anymore, so that's good. Saturated fats are the fats that are hard and solid at room temperature. The other one to limit or avoid is sugar. It's a definite link to heart disease. It makes our blood all sticky, so that's not good. So they recommend 6 teaspoons of added sugar a day for women and 9 for men. So just adjusting your diet, even so slightly, can have a big impact on our cardiovascular wellness. So let's review. Heart-happy foods. Well, first thing, if you're in the grocery store and you see this, check for the heart check mark. It's a little mark. It says American Heart Association certified, meets criteria for heart-healthy food. Little heart with a check inside. If you see that on the food, you know that's a food that's going to be very beneficial for your heart. So that helps in your shopping. Number 2 is to replace enriched grains with whole grains. You kept hearing me say how important those fibers from whole grains are. So it definitely is linked with decreasing cardiovascular disease when we put more whole grains in our diet. Oats and barley in and of themselves lower cholesterol, but the other grains help with a lot of phytochemicals that help with decreasing inflammation. Again, that's the big marker of heart disease. So making half our grains whole is what the recommendation from the American Dietary Guidelines, but I say make as many as whole as you can. And one easy thing is, if you look on the ingredient list, it says whole, then you know you're heading in the right direction. Number 3 is to really emphasize fruits and vegetables. I talk about fruits and vegetables all the time, how important they are. People who eat the most and the greatest variety are less likely to die from heart disease from studies they've done. So every day, every meal, work fruits and vegetables in. The recommendation is keeps growing, 9 to 11 servings, but even if you can just do 5 a day, it's going to be beneficial for your health. And don't shy away from dairy. Dairy has so many important nutrients in it that contribute to heart health. Remember I said calcium, magnesium, potassium. Those are all combined in the package of dairy, so it's really a good way to help with our heart. Fermented dairy, kefir, yogurt has been being investigated as a cardioprotective food to eat. So try to shoot for 2 or 3 cups of dairy a day. Coffee and tea, very cardioprotective, moderate amount. If you have problems with caffeine, obviously don't do too much or switch to caffeine-free, especially later in the afternoon so that it doesn't interrupt with your sleep. But moderate intake of coffee or tea has shown to decrease the risk of cardiovascular disease. Another thing is make sure you stick with the right type of oils. You don't want to go with the saturated fats. Coconut oil was big in the news for a while, how important and good for, but it's actually a saturated fat that is not good for your heart. So stick with the oils and all that are liquid at room temperature. 7, chocolate. Dark chocolate, 50 to 90% cacao, which I think 90% would be like eating cocoa powder, but the higher the amount of dark chocolate, the better for your heart. It has a lot of protective things, antioxidants. It's been shown to improve blood pressure, blood clotting, vascular reactivity, how your veins move and react to things. But lately, it's been in the news that dark chocolate has been tainted with lead and cadmium, lead from the processing plants and cadmium from where it's grown. There is a article you can look up and see which of you, if you have a favorite chocolate company, how they rate with their levels of these particular heavy metals. So the recommendation is now don't eat it every day, 3 to 5 times a week, a thing of dark chocolate, 1 ounce. You don't have to gobble the whole bar down, which is about 5 Hershey Kisses, 2 tablespoons of chocolate chips, or a couple of those Ghirardelli squares. Those would be about 1 ounce. That way you're limiting your exposure to those metals. Red wine is linked with improved heart health, but just recently the Surgeon General has recommended issuing warning labels to say that alcohol is linked with cancer risks and 7 different cancers. So again, I always feel like if you don't drink, don't take up drinking for your heart health. There's lots of other ways to get those components that's in red wine. But if you do like to drink, keep it to 1 drink for women, 2 for men, and don't be excessive with it. Then there's sometimes a rarely eaten heart, not so happy foods. These are our processed meats, deli, bacon, sausage, red meats, sugar sweetened beverages, sugar and sweets and all, and higher sodium foods. Those are the things. It doesn't mean you can't ever eat them, but those are the things you're going to try to eat less of for your heart. Now, some people say, well, you said magnesium is great for you. I'm going to take a magnesium supplement. Well, we always say food first, because we don't still know what exactly is in the food, that all those things are working together to bring health to our body. So when you isolate something out, you may be taking it out of its context of how it works in that food. So always try to get your nutrients from food first. There's no data to suggest that healthy people benefit from taking certain vitamins or mineral supplements. But if you have a very poor diet, it might be a good idea. But if you try to follow what I've talked about, you really probably do not need to take something. always talk to your doctor, your pharmacist, to let them know if you're taking any kind of over-the-counter supplement, because one, they're not regulated by the FDA, but two, they can interfere with other prescription meds that you might be on. So just be careful with that. So there will be a link that you can print out if you so desire, from the Heart Association, 10 Ways to Improve Your Heart Health. We've kind of addressed it, but if you needed to print it out and hang it somewhere so you remember to do those things, that's great. And I'm also going to include a recipe from heart.org. It's called a white bean and tomato bruschetta salad. I will be preparing this at the centers, but if you're not able to come out to the center, that's understandable. Try it at home and let me know. Send me a little email and say what you thought of it. So anyway, happy Heart Health Month and enjoy your February. I'll see you back here next month. Bye.